Hello, students, and welcome to your lesson in how to use Google Slides to create stop motion animation. If you were not already aware, all the cartoons that you watch and all the animation that you see in movies is actually created frame by frame by frame. And years ago, it used to be pieces of paper that were traced over each other and then repeated and a slight movement to the characters. But now they're all done digitally and you actually live fairly close to a pretty famous stop motion animation studio. Leica Studios is in Hillsboro, Oregon, and they're very famous for some of the movies that you might be familiar with. So, movies like Coraline were created there, and any of these Nightmare Before Christmas. And in the past, there were also movies that were created like Wallace and Gromit, and your parents might be familiar with some of them, like uh, the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer movie or Shaun Sheep movie. So what we're going to do today is just learn the basics of how animation works. So the video that you saw as soon as we got to class was a published version of a Google slide presentation. And so that's what you're going to be doing over the next couple of days. And so I'm going to show you how to make that happen. So here we have the published version, and this is really easy to do. It just takes a little bit of time and a little bit of planning. So this published version of our snowman getting built here is actually a Google slide presentation. It is a series of a frame where that frame gets duplicated, and then the items in the frame are moved slightly, and then it gets duplicated again and again and again and again. And just to show you a little bit how that works, I'm actually going to delete all these slides. Oh no, goodbye slides. I'm going to hit the shift button and I'm going to delete those. So I'm going to show you how to do this, and then I'm going to show you how you are going to do something similar. So when I'm on this slide, I can either two-finger click on my Chromebook or right-click on a computer, and I can duplicate slide. You can also hit, the shortcut is Control D for duplicate. So I'm just going to go ahead and do it this way, and all I would do is move my snowball a little bit, move this snowball a little bit, and move this snowball a little bit. And then you do that again. This time I'm going to hit Control D on my keyboard, and I'm going to move this snowball and this snowball and this snowball. And that's how stop motion animation works. A particular scenario is set up. Usually a photo is taken if this is something that's happened in a live studio like Leica Studios, or if it's done digitally, a slight change is made to the the image that you see, and then that slide is duplicated again. And so if you keep doing it over and over and over again, then eventually, so if I just hit the duplicate button again, I can move it in. Oops, I can move it in and move it in. So let me do a couple more of these. And you could, oops, I went ahead and deleted that little guy. I didn't want to do that. Move it in. I'm going to do just a couple more. Oops, I accidentally duplicated the snowman, the snowball. I'm going to duplicate the whole slide. And then I can move this snowball in here and the snowball over here. Oop, and the snowball right here. And now I have built a, wait, what happened to that snowball? I have built a very basic snowman. And if I were to click on the left through all of my slides and hit the down button, click, 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 you can see how the snowman is formed. So you are given a template for the 2025 or whatever year you're going to be doing this. Animate a snowman slide presentation. Okay, and in here you can see the title slide, you can see some instructions along with some ideas, and then you see the first slide. Now, your version that you see here in The assignment is a view-only copy of the slide presentation. So the first thing that you will have to do is go into the File menu and make a copy. And you're going to copy the entire presentation. Now, when this comes up, don't just hit the return button. Let's slow down. What I want you to do is change copy of to whatever your name is. That way, when you look in your drive, you can tell the difference between the view only copy that I gave you and your version of this project. So I'm going to go ahead and make a copy. And this is what you are going to work from. You are given quite a few pieces of clip art that you can use to make your snowman. Once you get going here, it's just a matter of time. So let's start with the very first slide. This is the Animate Snowman slide. It's just an introduction to the project. When you're finished with your animation, you can choose whether or not you want to have this slide be in your animation like a slide, like a title slide, or if you just don't want to have it at all. The next slide has some instructions. You can see we just did the first instruction. Slide 3 right here, slide 3 is our starting place. And then we have clip art on slides 4, 5, 6, all the way down to 10 with all of the different things that you can put on your snowman. And when I get done explaining here, I'm also going to show you how you can get additional add-ons for your snowman as well. Now, some things to note, you can also move the individual snowballs. So you see right here, a snowman is built, kind of built for you, but you can move them around. So you can decide to start with a snowman and just get him dressed, or you can decide to build the entire snowman. It's really up to you. You can even change the size of the snowballs and make this a very large snowman or a very small snowman. So you have quite a few options. Everything that you see is just a clip art that was added onto this background. Okay, so coming back to the instructions, it just says when you're all finished, you can delete all the slides that are not part of the actual animation. So I'll show you in the Sally Superstar one. I deleted all of the clip art pages. I can even delete this title slide if I wanted to. I could turn it in just like this if I wanted to. And then you have a few options. You can animate the building of the snowman. You can animate by having the snowman dance. So maybe your snowman's just going to move across the screen. You can animate by showing the snowman melt. So there's tons of options for you. So again, I'll just go ahead and kind of model for you what we're going to do. So let's say I wanted this snowman, I wanted to animate this snowman melting. So I might make a copy or duplicate this slide, and I might change the shape. Oh my goodness, it's starting to get kind of squishy, right? This snowman's starting to kind of fall apart on me. And I'm just gonna maybe change the shape a little bit. Maybe this little one's gonna slough off. You have a little arrow right here. You can change the angle of something. And then this guy right here, you might go over here and he's also starting to kind of melt. Ew, no. He's getting pretty small. And then I have a slide. You can see the difference between slide 1 and slide 2. And I can duplicate that slide. And I could keep going, and I could make it even smaller. Getting almost this puddle going here. Oh no, poor little snowman. He's getting pretty melty pretty fast. I'm just gonna have this slide right off here because he was getting pretty squished. And then I could duplicate it one more time, and I could just really make this snowman just disappear. Like he wasn't even there. Make it really small. Just everything's melting on top of itself. Okay. And we can get it to go away. So every time you want to make a change, you just duplicate the slide and make changes. Some of the things that you can also do, now this is going to get a little bit like not animated, but I want to show you a few things, folks. When you are on these pages, this is a good practice for you for Control C for copy and Control V, as in violin, for paste. So if I wanted to have some eyes, I could Control C, and I could bring it back over here, and I can just Control V. So if you were going to have your snowman be built over time, then you could bring that image in, and you could just duplicate the slide, and we could move those eyeballs. The eyeballs could move around. You can kind of make it happen however you want. So a couple pieces of advice before you get started. One is have a plan for what you want the whole picture to be. So, for example, if I actually wanted to start with a completely clothed snowman with eyes and nose and buttons and arms and hats and everything, I would put all of that in there first. My snowman that I showed you at the beginning had all of the different extras coming in from the sides to build the snowman. You can go ahead and rewind the video if you want to see that happen. So know what your overall plan is going to be, because if you don't, then you have to go and you have to add that element to all of your slides. So if I really wanted the eyes to be in there, okay, if I were to copy them, I would have had to put them in the original version. And then as my snowman was melting, now I have to go in and go, oh no, now I have to put them in here, and now I have to have these eyes get kind of squished, and they're kind of falling off, and they're kind of sliding around, and you don't want to have to go back and do that. This slide animation only has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 slides, but sometimes these can get up to be hundreds and hundreds of slides long. Okay, so I will just do it one more time. Now I got to bring it back over here, and I'm gonna never really squish them down. I'm just gonna kind of make it fall off a little bit this side. Now, another piece of advice is remember that if you are having things fly in to the scene, remember things that are far away are small, and things that are closer get bigger as they get closer to you. And I will show you an example of that. So here's a ski jump, and here's an image. Let me click the down arrow so you can see how this works. Here comes Miss Van in for a ski jump. Oops. Well, I got to go on the first slide. And here she goes. She's flying in. Woo! Okay. So as she flies in from seemingly nowhere, we want her to get bigger as she's getting closer and closer. You can also experiment with putting things behind other elements, or making things show up from behind something, or melt. For in this case, let's say I wanted these eyeballs to kind of start to just melt away. I could also right click and change the order and to go send to back, and that's going to push the eyeballs. Oh no, it didn't work. Let me do it one more time. Go to the order, and I'm going to send to back, and now the eyeballs have fallen behind this snowball right here. They're just all by themselves. And then, so I can kind of grab them, and they've fallen behind the whole situation. That actually happened. If you go back and look at my original, here we go. I actually moved the boots in the image. I moved the boots behind the first snowman. Okay, so you're going to take a little while to build whatever animation you want to build. I want to show you some other examples. So this was the example that I was showing you. Okay, so I can bring those in. Okay. You could also decide to start from scratch. You don't have to use the model that I gave you. This student a few years ago started this completely from scratch. They found their own background. They used Google Shapes to create their snowman. And if I click through their slides, the snowman's dancing. They get really excited because the new snowman's coming. Yay! But then they look up and oh no, the sun has come out. And now, and all done. That's the end of that animation. Another student did something similar, except she had her Christmas tree. They did this before the holidays. She had her Christmas tree slowly light up. So it wasn't super fancy. She didn't have any movement, but she has this Christmas card basically come into life. And then, of course, you just saw the example that I showed you where something is coming in from a distance and it's just flying across the screen. Another website I want you to be aware of, especially if you're going to be doing graphic design, is a website called Remove BG. And what this website does is it takes out all of the background imagery on a particular piece of clip art that you might want in your slide presentation. So let's say I wanted my snowman to have a snowboard. And I said, oh, wow, I really like this snowboard. Except when I go to save, if I were to copy this image, and I'm just going to bring it into this side right here and paste it in here. Oh, I got to do Control V. Control V. I don't want the checkerboard behind it. Ew. Now, sometimes when you are looking for images, you will find images that already don't have a background. Usually the checkerboard means it has a transparent background, but a lot of times the checkerboard downloads with it. So if I wanted to copy this image and bring it into my slide presentation, Control V, hey, this snowboard works out just fine. And I could have the snowman be on the snowboard if I wanted to. So I want to show you how to use this Remove BG website. Now I'm on a desktop computer, so I have the benefit of doing something like that. But I'm going to show you, I'm going to drag this image up, and I'm going to drop it right down here. And what this website is going to do is remove the background. You get a few of these for free each day. So you can't do it over and over and over again, but you get a few each day. And they're also not the highest quality, but it's big enough for what you're doing for most school projects. So I'm going to go ahead and download that. And now I have an image. If I drag it and I drop it in here, now I have my snowboarder without the background. Remove BG. Very, very useful website for what we're doing. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and delete these because they're not part of Miss Van's ski jump. So once you have your slide presentation, you have your animation how you want it. And take some time to do a good job. Like your presentation should be at least 10 slides. And like I said, they can get up to hundreds of slides. So you can make this as long as you want, but realize your own personal limitations, okay? And also realize that the step that you have on part 2 of the animation, it's going to get pretty treacherous if your slide presentation is really long. So I would probably try to keep it under 50 slides. So let's just use that gauge, 10 to 50 slides. Okay, you're all done. And now you're trying to figure out, well, how am I supposed to publish it like you did right here, Miss Van? It just played all by itself. I'm going to show you how the magic happens. Under the File menu, we are going to go down to the Share option. Now, we're not going to share it with Miss Van. She doesn't want to see our slide presentation because she's going to see it and accelerate. We are going to publish to the web. Now, Google Slides doesn't have this option so that you could do stop motion animation. The reason why this exists is because a slide presentation is meant to, as you know, be a visual that goes along with someone's speech. And sometimes an author or presenter wants a slide presentation to just auto advance without having to click anything. If you ever go to someplace where there's a screen that changes, it's just a slide presentation and it's set up to change every few seconds. So we're going to click Publish to the Web. And now we have some options. Now this can get pretty complicated and I can show you how to make it be less time or longer time, but we're going to keep it simple, folks. We're going to have our slides advance every second. That means every second the slide is just going to automatically go on its own. If you want yours to go faster, you can come to the digital lab and I can show you how to do it. It's a little bit tricky and I don't want to get into that here. You also get to decide, do you want the slideshow to go as soon as the website loads? If so, you're going to click the button. If you don't, then when the person opens up that link, it's going to be your teacher in this case, they will have to click to make the animation go. So you can decide if you want it to auto go or if you want it to go only after you click. And the other thing you get to decide is, do you want your slide presentation to restart after the last slide? If you do that, it's just going to loop. It's going to go on repeat. So I'm going to select both of those. Okay. And then, and of course, we want every second, and then we're going to click the publish button. Yes, I'm sure I want to publish this. And you are going to get a link. You're going to get a link. By the way, this is the number you can play around with if you want your slide presentation to go faster. So you can change this to 500, to 300, to 100. It gets into tenths of seconds. So if you really want to play around with that, you can. But if not, we're just going to copy the link that we get. I'm going to open up a new slide. We're going to paste it in there. And here goes the presentation. It's playing all by itself. Miss Van isn't touching it at all. And when it gets done, it's going to start all over. And it's going to just keep looping and looping and looping until we get done. Now, when you are finished with your activity, you do have to turn this in. And in Accelerate, you will see that you are asked to submit both the slide presentation, and then in the comments, I'd like you to paste the URL to the published version of your slideshow. If you accidentally close this out, so if I went, oh no, where did it go? It's always going to be on your slide presentation. So if you came here and if I went, I'm like, oh, did I already publish this? I can go into the file menu, click publish to the web, and it's going to show that it's already published. It's grayed out and it's already published. Okay. Oh, 3,000. Nope. I want every second. See, that's what this number is. See how this 3 coincides with the 3 seconds? So the smaller this number gets, the faster it goes. But we're just going to leave it like that. And then you're going to turn this in. And next time, you're going to learn how to pull this stop motion animation into WeVideo so that you can adjust the slide length. You can have things go by faster and slower. And you're also going to be able to learn how you can add text slides and background music to your presentation. All right, this is tricky. This is a difficult activity to do, and especially if you're new at using Google Slides. So if you need help, come to the Digital Lab.